Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today, inshallah, we're going to solve Cambridge exam, October-November 2022, paper 22. Let's start it. Question 1. The rate of diffusion of three gases, ammonia, carbon dioxide, and methane is measured. What is the order of the rate of diffusion of the gases from the slowest to the fastest? We know that the rate of diffusion is inversely proportional to the molecular mass. The higher the molecular mass, the slower the rate of diffusion. So here I calculated the molecular mass for ammonia 17, carbon dioxide 44, and methane 16. We can see that carbon dioxide has the highest molecular mass, so it will be the slowest, then comes ammonia, and finally methane. So the order from the slowest to the fastest will be carbon dioxide, then ammonia, and finally methane. The answer will be A. Question 2. Which description of the Brownian motion is correct? We know that the Brownian motion is the random zigzag motion of particles suspended in a fluid. We can just imagine like a small dust particle suspended in air. So it is the random motion of these particles due to bombardment with air particles, which obviously are smaller than the dust particles. So the answer will be B. Random movement of particle due to bombardment with smaller particles, which here in my example represented by the air particles. Question 3. The chromatogram obtained using four substances J, K, L, and M is shown. Which statement about M is correct? M is a mixture of J and K only. We can see that M has three spots. One has the same RF value of J. The second has the same RF value of K, and a third substance, so it is not only J and K. B, M is a pure substance, of course not. It is formed of three substances because it has three spots. C, it's a mixture of J, K, and L. We can obviously see that the third spot doesn't have the same RF value of L, so it is not L. Finally, D, M is a mixture of J, K, and a third unknown substance. Here, the third spot is for unknown substance, so the answer will be D. Question 4. Which statement about isotopes of the same element are correct? 1. The atoms have the same chemical properties because they have the same number of electrons in the outer shell. Of course, isotopes have the same number of protons, the same number of electrons, and also the same number of electrons in their outer shell, so they will have the same chemical properties. Statement 1 is correct. 2. They are atoms which have the same number of electrons, neutrons, but different protons. This is, of course, a wrong statement because it's the opposite. Statement 3. They are atoms having the same number of electrons, proton, but different number of neutrons. And this is the correct statement. So here we have 1 and 3 are correct, and the answer is B. Question 5. Which statement about solid magnesium oxide is correct? It's a giant structure made of magnesium and oxygen atom bonded covalently. Of course, it's wrong. Magnesium oxide is ionic compound. It's an electrical conductor with mobile magnesium ions and oxygen ions. This is, of course, a wrong statement. We can see here that the question says it's a solid magnesium oxide, and solid ionic compound cannot conduct electricity because the ions cannot move. C. Magnesium loses electrons, and these electrons move freely through the lattice. This is, of course, wrong because when magnesium loses electrons, these electrons are gained by oxygens. They are not moved freely through the lattice. D. Oxygen ion and magnesium ions are attracted to each other in a giant lattice. This is a correct statement. This is the definition of the ionic bond. It is the attraction between the oppositely charged ions in a giant lattice, which is the ionic lattice. So the answer will be D. Which molecule contains only 3 shared pairs of electrons? Here I draw the bonding in this molecule. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shared pairs. Here we have only 1 pair. Here we have 2 shared pairs of electron. And here in the nitrogen molecule, we have 1, 2, 3 shared pairs of electrons. So the answer will be D. Question 7. Which particle present in the structure of metal? We know that the structure of metal is positively positive ions regularly arranged and surrounded by a sea of delocalized or mobile electrons. So here we have positive ions, negative ions, shared pairs of electrons, and mobile electron. We will choose only 1 and 4, positive ion surrounded by mobile electrons, and the answer will be B, 1 and 4. Question 8. Caffeine is a stimulant found in coffee. Which formula represent caffeine? To write the molecular formula, we will write each type of atom and how many atoms present in this formula. So we will count how many carbons, how many nitrogen, how many hydrogen, and finally oxygen. We will find that we have 8 carbons, 10 hydrogen, 4 nitrogens, and 2 oxygen, and the answer will be C. Question 9. Which sample doesn't contain a number of atoms equal to the Avogadro's constant? Avogadro's constant is 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23. In a covalent compound, 1 mole of the covalent compound contain Avogadro's constant of molecules. So we know that in nitrogen gas, 1 mole contains 28 grams of nitrogen gas and Avogadro's constant number of molecules. But here the question is asking about the number of atoms. So we will calculate which substance doesn't contain the number of atoms equal to Avogadro's constant. We know that each molecule of nitrogen consists of 2 atoms. So if we will count the number of atoms, it will be double the number of molecules. To have the same Avogadro's number, we will have to divide the mass by 2. So 28 by 2 will be 14 grams. 14 grams of nitrogen contain the same number of atoms equal to Avogadro's constant. Let's imagine that here, like the 2 boxes. These boxes contain 6 nitrogen molecules, and these boxes contain 6 nitrogen atoms. Obviously, the same number is present. Here we have 6 and here we have 6. But if we measure the mass, we can see that the mass of these nitrogen atoms is half the mass of the nitrogen molecule, because each molecule consists of 2 atoms. So by dividing the mass by 2, we can get the same number, which is 6 here, the same number but atoms, not molecules. So here we will do the same for nitrogen. 1 mole of nitrogen, 28 grams, contain Avogadro's constant molecules, but 14 grams of nitrogen will contain the Avogadro's constant but number of atoms. For the second one, water, the 1 mole of water contain 18 grams and the same Avogadro's constant water molecules. So if we divide the 18 by 3, because we have 3 atoms, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, if we divide it by 3, we will get 6 grams of the same number of atoms like Avogadro's constant. So the 6 grams of water will contain number of atoms equal to Avogadro's constant. And for helium, helium is a noble gas. It is made from single atom. It's monoatomic. So 1 mole of helium contains 4 grams of helium atoms. 4 grams Avogadro's constant of helium atoms. So 4 grams of helium contain number of atoms equal to Avogadro's constant. Finally, we will get to carbon monoxide. 1 mole of carbon dioxide contains 28 grams of carbon monoxide molecules. So to have the same number of atoms, we have to divide it by 2, and here we didn't divide it. It is the same. 28 grams of carbon monoxide will not contain number of atoms equal to Avogadro's constant. So the answer will be D. The electrolysis of concentrated aqueous sodium chloride and molten sodium chloride is shown. Here on the right we have molten sodium chloride, and on the left we have concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. In case of concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, the chlorine gas will be discharged at the anode because it's present in high concentration, and the hydrogen gas will be discharged at the cathode. In case of molten sodium chloride, we don't have water, so sodium ion will be discharged as sodium metal at the cathode, and chlorine gas will be discharged at the anode. So what are the products at electrode 1 and electrode 2? Here, electrode 1 is the cathode of electrolysis concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, so we will have hydrogen. Electrode 2 is the anode. Here we have chlorine. So the answer will be hydrogen and chlorine. The answer is B. 11. When an acid is added to an alkali, the temperature of the reaction rises. So the temperature rises, that means the reaction is exothermic, and we have acid and alkali. This is a neutralization reaction, so the answer will be D. It's a neutralization reaction and it's exothermic. Question 12. Some properties of 4-fuel are shown. Which fuel is a gas at room temperature and makes 2 products when it burns in a plentiful supply of air? Hydrogen is a gas. When it burns, it gives only 1 product, which is water. Methane is also a gas. When it burns, gives 2 products, which are carbon dioxide and oxygen. Octane and wax are not gases, so the answer will be B. Methane. When burns, it gives 2 products, carbon dioxide and water. 13. The electrical energy or voltage of 2 cells are measured. The first one here we have zinc and magnesium, and the second one we have magnesium and copper. We have 4 statements. The voltage of cell 1 is greater than cell 2. The first one between zinc and magnesium, the difference in the reactivity between zinc and magnesium, of course, is smaller than the difference between magnesium and copper. So, of course, cell 1 will have a lower voltage than cell 2. So, statement 1 is wrong. Statement 2, zinc is more reactive than copper. Of course, this is a correct statement. Zinc is more reactive than copper. Statement 3, magnesium is oxidized in both cells. So, oxidation means loss of electrons. That means here magnesium is more reactive than copper. Magnesium is more reactive than zinc. The more reactive metal loses electrons, so this statement is correct. Magnesium oxidized in both cells. Statement 4. Magnesium atom loses electron to form magnesium ions. Of course, when it is oxidized, it loses electrons, so statement 4 is correct. Here, he wants me to choose the correct option of the 4 options that we have here. Number 1, all statements are correct. This is, of course, not, because we have statement 1 is wrong. Only statement 1 and 3 are correct. This is, of course, also wrong, because statement 1 is still not correct. C, statement 2 is correct and explains statement 1. This is, of course, wrong. Statement 2 is correct. Zinc is more reactive than copper, but it doesn't explain anything about statement 1. The 4th and last option, statement 4 is correct and explains statement 3. This is correct because when magnesium loses electron, it forms magnesium ions, and this explains why magnesium oxidized in both cells. So the answer will be D. Question 14. Dilute aqueous sodium chloride is electrolyzed using a carbon electrode. As we have just said, when we have diluted solution, the chloride ion is not in enough concentration, so oxygen ions, hydroxide ions will go to the anode and discharge as oxygen gas. So we will have oxygen at the anode, and the answer will be C. The volume of a gas given off in a chemical reaction is measured over time, and the result is shown here. Here we have on the y-axis the volume of gas against time on the x-axis, at which time the rate of reaction is greatest. We can see from the graph that this part is the steepest part of the curve, so it has the highest rate of reaction, and we can choose that 6 seconds are the highest or the greatest rate of reaction. The answer will be C. Then we'll go to 16. Dinitrogen tetroxide is converted into nitrogen dioxide in a reversible reaction. The forward reaction is endothermic. Which condition gives the highest equilibrium yield of nitrogen dioxide? So we want to choose the condition of the pressure and temperature needed to get a higher yield of nitrogen dioxide. As we can see, the forward reaction is endothermic. For the equilibrium to be shifted to the forward side or the right side, we need to a high temperature, because the endothermic reaction is favored by high temperature. And for the pressure, as we can see, we have higher number of molecules on the right side. So by decreasing the pressure, we will increase the equilibrium yield of nitrogen dioxide. So we will choose a lower pressure and a high temperature. The answer is A. 17. When magnesium is heated with zinc oxide, we have the equation shown here, magnesium heated with zinc oxide to give magnesium oxide and zinc. Which substance is oxidized? Of course, as we can see, magnesium gains oxygen, so magnesium has been oxidized. The answer is A. 18. X and Y are oxides of two different elements. When X reacts with water, it produces aqueous solution Z, and Z turns the universal indicator blue. So solution Z is an alkaline solution, and of course the oxide of X is a metal oxide, because the metal oxide dissolve in water or react with water to give alkali solution. An aqueous solution of Y, when we dissolve Y in water to get an aqueous solution, it reacts with sodium carbonate to produce carbon dioxide. That means Y is acidic solution. It's an oxide of nonmetal. Nonmetal oxide dissolve in water to give acidic solution. So which statement is correct? X is oxide of metal and Y is oxide of nonmetal. This is the correct statement. The answer is C. 19. Ethanoic acid reacts with water to produce acidic solution. Which row describes the role of ethanoic acid and water in this reaction? Of course, ethanoic acid, it's an acid, so it's a proton donor. It will donate a proton, and this proton will be accepted by water. So the answer is C. Question 20. Copper sulfate is a soluble salt, and calcium sulfate is an insoluble salt. Which row describes a suitable reactant for preparing pure sample of the named salt? So we will first revise the method of preparation of soluble salt, which is reacting metal oxide or metal hydroxide, metal carbonate with the acid, and we can also react the metal with the acid if the metal is above hydrogen in the reactivity series. The method for preparing insoluble salt is mixing two aqueous solution of two soluble salts. So here we have calcium sulfate, which is insoluble. So the method of preparation is mixing two aqueous solutions, not by reacting calcium carbonate with the acid. So this statement is wrong. Calcium sulfate can be prepared by mixing aqueous calcium chloride, which is soluble, with aqueous sodium sulfate. So statement 2 is correct. To prepare copper sulfate, we can react copper with dilute hydrochloric acid. No, because copper is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. So 3 or C is wrong. Number D, copper sulfate can be prepared by mixing two aqueous solution of copper chloride and sodium sulfate. This is wrong because this is not one of the methods of preparing soluble salts. So the answer will be B. Calcium sulfate can be prepared by mixing aqueous calcium chloride and sodium sulfate. Question 21. Strontium displaces magnesium from molten magnesium chloride. So strontium is more reactive than magnesium. It displaces the magnesium from magnesium chloride. And bromine displaces iodine from aqueous potassium iodide. Which row describes the change in reactivity in group 2 and group 7? In group 2 is exactly like group 1, so the reactivity increases as we go down, and group 7 is the reverse, so the reactivity decreases as we go down. Iodine is less reactive than bromine, so the answer will be C. Group 2, the reactivity increases down the group, and group 7, the reactivity decreases down the group. 22. Elements J and K are in the same period in the periodic table. In the same period of the periodic table. J react with acid to produce salt and hydrogen. So J is a metal. It will be on the left side of the periodic table because it reacts with acid to produce salt and hydrogen gas. K react with sodium to form ionic compound. So K is a non-metal. React with sodium, which is metal, to form ionic compound. So K is a non-metal and it is on the right side of the periodic table. Which statement about J and K is correct? An atom of J has more electrons than an atom of K? Of course not, because J on the left side, so it has less number of electrons. J and K are both metals, as we said that J is a metal and K is a non-metal, so this is also wrong. J and K are both non-metals. C is also wrong. J is to the left of K in the periodic table, and this is correct. The answer is D. 23. Parts of the periodic table is shown. Which element have high density, high melting point, and forms a brown oxide? High density and high melting point, this is the property of metals, and because it forms brown oxide, it's one of the transition metals because it forms a colored compound, so the answer will be B. This is where the transition metals located in the periodic table. Question 23, the answer is B. 24, the reaction of four metals W, X, Y, and Z are listed. Metal W displaces metal X from the oxide of metal X, so W is more reactive than X because W displaces metal X. Metal Y has a greater tendency to form positive ions than metal W, so metal Y loses electrons and form positive ions, so Y is more reactive than W. Aqueous ions of metal Z are reduced by metal X. That means that X is more reactive than Z. It reduces Z. That means Z gains electron, get reduced by metal X, so X is more reactive than Z. So here we want the order of reactivity of the four metals. As we can see, here the least reactive and here is the most reactive. We said that W is more reactive than X and Y is more reactive than W and X is more reactive than Z. So the least reactive will be Z, then followed by X, then W, and finally Y will be the most reactive, as we ordered here, written on the right side. Question 25. 3 experiments, J, K, and L, are set up investigating rusting. Here we have mild steel in water. Experiment K, we have painted iron in water, and experiment L, we have stainless steel in water. So in which experiment does the rust occur? Of course, it will be in the first experiment, which is experiment J, where the mild steel is not covered or painted or protected, so it will be rusted when we put it in water. The answer is C. The rust will happen in experiment J. Question 26. Silver is below copper in the reactivity series. Which row describes the reaction of silver? Silver with steam, of course, no reaction. Silver with dilute hydrochloric acid because it is below copper in the reactivity series, so it is also below hydrogen, so it will have no reaction with hydrochloric acid and no reaction with steam. The answer will be A. Question 27. Iron is galvanized by coated with zinc, and the press is made by mixing copper with zinc. Mixing copper with zinc, so it's an alloy. Brass is an alloy of copper. Which row gives the reason for these uses of zinc? When zinc galvanize iron, this is to protect iron from rusting. So the reason of galvanizing iron is to prevent iron corrosion or rusting. And the reason for making brass, making alloy of copper, is to produce a harder metal, because the alloy is harder than the original metal. So the answer will be B. 28. The diagram shows a stage of purification of dirty water. As we can see here, we have the dirty water on top, then sand, fine gravel, coarse gravel in a pot with a hole in the bottom, so the water can go through the gravel and sand, and we can collect it from these holes. Which process does the apparatus show? We can easily show that this diagram shows us filtration, so the answer will be D. Then we'll go to 29. Which substance in the polluted air damage stoneworks and kill trees? The acid rain damages stoneworks and kill trees, and acid rain is caused by dissolving toxic gases like sulfur dioxide in the rain, so the answer will be D, sulfur dioxide. Question 3. Ammonium nitrate is a fertilizer added in the field to help the crops grow. We have also slaked lime, which is added to reduce the acidity of the soil. Ammonium nitrate and slaked lime should not be added together to the field because they react to form a gas Z. What is Z? To know what is Z, we will write the equation for the reaction between ammonium nitrate and calcium hydroxide. So the reaction will produce calcium nitrate and water, of course, ammonia and ammonia gas. So the gas Z is ammonia, and the answer is A. Question 31. The scheme shows 4 stages in the conversion of sulfur to sulfuric acid. In which state the catalyst is used? The catalyst is used in the contact process, converting sulfur dioxide into sulfur trioxide, and the answer will be stage B. Question 32. Which element has an oxide that is used as a food preservative? We're using sulfur dioxide as a food preservative, so the answer is D, sulfur. Question 33. Which substance gives off carbon dioxide by heating? Carbonates decomposes by heat to give carbon dioxide. So we have limestone, which is calcium carbonate. When we heat calcium carbonate, it decomposes to give calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas. So by heating, limestone gives off carbon dioxide. The answer is B. 34. Which compound has the most CH2 groups in one molecule? So I draw the structure of the 4 substances to count how many CH2 in each one, so we can answer the question. First, here we have butane, 2 CH2 groups highlighted with the green light. Butanoic acid, we have also 2 CH2 groups. For butanol, we have 3 CH2 groups highlighted in orange. And but1ene has only 2 CH2 groups. So from the structure, we can easily see that the answer is C. Butane 1-ol has 3 CH2 groups, so it has the most CH2 groups. Question 35. Methane reacts with chlorine in the presence of ultraviolet light. Which substance is not produced in this reaction? When methane reacts with chlorine, one or more hydrogen of the methane is substituted by chlorine, so we can have like 1 chloromethane or dichloromethane. C and D can be produced, and we have also hydrogen chloride gas produced. So the one that is not produced is A. Hydrogen gas will not produce in the substitution reaction of methane by chlorine. The answer is A. Question 36. Ethene reacts with both hydrogen and steam. Which row about this reaction is correct? First, ethene reacts with hydrogen, as we can see, to produce ethane, addition of hydrogen, change ethene into ethane. And second, ethene can react with steam to form ethanol in addition of water, the alkene change it into alcohol. So first he's asking about the reaction of ethene. The reaction with hydrogen is called addition. We add hydrogen and with the presence of nickel as a catalyst to produce ethane. Reaction with hydrogen is not a substitution, so this one is wrong. Reaction with steam is also not a substitution reaction. Reaction with steam is an addition reaction, but the catalyst is not nickel. As we can see here, the catalyst is phosphoric acid. So the only correct answer is B. Reaction of ethene with hydrogen. It's an addition reaction and the catalyst is nickel. Question 37. Which type of reactions happen when ethanol is converted into ethanoic acid? We know that ethanol is oxidized to ethanoic acid, so the reaction is oxidation, and the answer is D. Question 38. Hydrolysis of the polymer B produces 3 compounds, as we can see here. This is the first, second, and the third compound. What is the structure of the polymer B? To know which one is polymer B, we have to follow the order connecting these 3 monomers together. So we will first draw the NH, then followed by the black block, then the CO bond bonded to the NH, the first amide linkage here between the 2 compounds. Then we will write the gray block followed by the CO groups, then connected to another NH group to form the second amide linkage, followed by the white block and another CO group, and of course we'll have 2 open ends of the polymer. So by following the order, you will find that the answer is A. Question 39. Which statement about the unsaturated hydrocarbon is correct? First, this compound is unsaturated hydrocarbon. Of course, it's unsaturated because it has 1 double bond. Ethene has more hydrogen atoms per molecule than ethane. Of course not. Ethane is an alkane, so it has high hydrogen atom per molecule. Unsaturated hydrocarbon have double bonds between carbon and hydrogen. This is of course also wrong because it have double bond between carbon atoms. Unsaturated hydrocarbon turns aqueous bromine from colorless to brown. This is wrong. It turns the aqueous bromine from brown or orange brown to colorless. So the only correct statement is statement 1, and the answer will be A. Question 40. The equation shows the formation of polymer called Kevlar. Here we have 2 monomers. One have 2 carboxylic groups, 1 from each side, and the second monomer have a amino group, also 1 from each side. They react together by removing 1 molecule of water and form amide linkage between the 2 monomers. So which row describes Kevlar? As we can see, it is formed by removal 1 molecule of water, so it's a condensation polymer. The polymer is formed by condensation, and because the formation of amide group here, it's a polyamide. So this polymer is a condensation polymer, and the type of polymer is polyamide. Here we come to the end of our exam. Comment down below if you have any question. Thank you for watching. Wish you all best of luck.